everybody. I'm your host, Shirin Yadigar, and you're watching Moms Matter. Today, all the way from Jerusalem, I have the beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I'm just so excited that you're here, Miss Solomon, and that you're joining us. This woman right here is a political analyst and the co-host of the show that all of you need to be following, The Quad. So we'll put all the links below so you can follow and see what Ashira is doing, because she is just incredible. She's a feminist and she has her values in the right place, and you're not afraid to speak up for what you believe in. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy it worked out that I get to be here in LA and get to experience your greatness in person.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, right when you walked in, there was just such a connection. I just had to like hug you.
I know. I was like, oh, let me hold her.
And I mean, we don't know each other. We found each other just through Instagram, through standing up and really speaking loud. And you've been doing this now for a while through your platform. Tell us what you do on your show and what you're trying to share with the world.
So the Quad, the original idea for the Quad was to have a show like The View, but from Israel. So the show was originally supposed to launch in November. October 7th happened. I got the call from the main host, which is the Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem, Fleur Hassan, who put me onto the show, and the producers, and they said, no, we're launching right now. So primarily the show is doing lots of hasbara, which means like explaining public advocacy on behalf of Israel. We're not doing hot topics and trendy topics like we thought we were going to be doing. So a lot of it is really defending the people of Israel, the state of Israel. And me specifically, I have a niche where I like to speak to the Black community and fight the misinformation and anti-Semitism that we see coming out from the Black community. I'm very passionate about bringing the Black and Jewish unity back together.
What are you seeing in the Black community? What's the backlash?
So we've seen that Black Lives Matter. They put out a statement right after October 7th saying there are parallels between the African American community and Palestinians, which is absolutely false, that they are experiencing oppression like the African Americans experience. It really irritates me because in our country, in America, African Americans fought for their civil rights through the mechanism of peace. We had nonviolent protest. We really fought for civil rights through peace and building with others, like the Jewish community. They are using the mechanism of terrorism to quote unquote fight against their quote unquote oppression. So this parallel that we have does not exist. And I find it offensive, really, and ludicrous that you're telling me as an African American, I'm similar to Palestinian terrorists.
So as a Black woman living in Jerusalem, do you feel that you're being oppressed? I mean, do you feel you don't have equal rights?
Like, I don't mean to laugh at the question, but it's just so absurd. Like, when people are like, you live in an apartheid state, I'm like, really? I'm not sitting on the back of the bus. There's not separate buses for Blacks and whites and Jews and Arabs. Like, we have Arab drivers. But to your question, I feel completely safe. I personally don't experience racism in Israel. I walk around Jerusalem freely, and I don't think about, oh, the color of my skin and how am I going to be perceived, in the streets, in the communities whatsoever.
Right. So you're using your platform really to kind of combat the misinformation, because it's really misinformation that people are being sold. And we're seeing it on college campuses too now, all over the US, where the Black community is marching for Hamas.
Yeah. And it's really, really sad, because I'm just thinking about Black culture in general, just like how we're raised in our homes. Like, to see a Black person tear down a poster of a kidnapped child, that's just something we wouldn't do. We have this term called Big Mama, which refers to like our grandmothers, and like we would be slapped in the head if our grandmothers seen us do something like that and out openly. So I really don't understand. I mean, I know it's propaganda, right? Like, if we go back into history and Yasser Arafat and his targeted, he really targeted the Black community to make this Black and Arab alliance. So it's not that Black people just woke up one day and was misinformed. It's been over time. I will say I'm going back and forth on whether it's like blatant anti-Semitism or misinformation, because when I look at HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, we don't see mass protests there, right? We don't see where these Black students are going. We don't see mass protests on their campuses. We see like Black student unions or Black groups at Harvard, at Columbia. So there, I think half and half is anti-Semitism blatantly, and then the other half is they're just completely misinformed.
And then how do you explain like the women's movement internationally around the world? I mean, October 7th happened, and you've really been using your platform to push for these women organizations to stand up and call out the rape that happened and the kidnappings. And what have you seen?
I'm really disappointed in the women organizations. Prior to my job with the Quad, I was a political moderator on women leadership conferences. So I spoke in Iceland, South Africa, Switzerland. I've been collaborating with women leadership conferences for a long, long time. I'm an alumni of a great women organization, and I was very upset to see that not one women organization that I have supported or who has given me a platform to speak previously, they said nothing. Not one sentence, not one word, not one hashtag, nothing. And I always said that I didn't feel like the feminist movement was inclusive from a political stance. Meaning, like, if you're a conservative woman and say you're pro-life or you have these, like, it's not really, it wasn't really like we want all women voices. It was that we want certain women voices. So from a political stance, I'm like, okay, they have an agenda. But this is humanity. This is humanity. This is all women. All women. We should be standing for all women, especially in times of rape and brutality.
Yeah.
This is beyond politics. This has nothing to do with how you vote at the ballot box now. This is about women being brutally raped and murdered. We had a woman who was killed and then had her baby ripped out of her and the baby was killed. Like, this is not about if you're pro-Israel or pro-Palestinian. You should be saying this is not right,
Right.
and this should not be hard to say.
And so why is it so hard? I mean, why is there so much silence? You know, you've been in that world for a very long time advocating for women's rights.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's silence?
I think that maybe a portion of it is that they're afraid to align themselves politically with Israel. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's one part. And the other part, I have to tell you, honestly, I don't know. It does not make sense because all of those, I was there when we marched in the streets for the Iranian women, when they did the hashtag bring them home now for the Nigerian girls, when we cried for the Afghanistan girls. I wasn't thinking about Nigerian politics at that time. I wasn't thinking about the Iranian politics at that time. I wasn't thinking about Afghans politics at that time. I didn't care about it. I just seen that there were girls, women and girls being oppressed, being murdered, being killed in the streets for not wearing their hijabs. And I said, that's not right. So I don't understand why this now has to have this political stance when it comes to Israeli and Jewish women.
I mean, it really is flabbergasting. And I think to myself, I'm a mother of four. And where is our future going? Where's our value system? If people can't simply call out the barbaric acts of rape, where are we going from here? And how do we pull it back, right? You've been in the arena. What's your advice to us? What's a call to action for everyone who's watching on how we can be a part of the solution and how we can really stand up for humanity and for what's right?
First and foremost, I want to speak to the Jewish community. I know that there's that saying going around that I'm a Jew without shaking knees, and I want that to keep going. I want every Jew to be courageous. I was in New York and I was having a dinner with my Jewish friends, and I realized they were whispering when we were talking about Palestinian and Israel. I was like, why are they whispering? And then I realized they're looking around and they're whispering because they don't know who's around us, because they're afraid to speak out loud about what we were talking about. And so I understand that, you know, everyone's life could be in danger and we don't know who's in danger, especially here in America. But I really, really need the Jewish community to stand strong, continue to be courageous. Do not think about the friendships that you're going to lose them. Don't think about the jobs that you're going to lose. There's going to be more jobs. There's going to be more wealth to create in the future. Now is not the time to be afraid. And to the people who are non-Jews, I really want to pull on your humanity and say, open your eyes. What you're standing for is not right. You need to open your eyes, read, come and engage. I did a video and I said, come to Israel. Because at this point, I can do all the videos in the world. People are going to say, oh, she's paid by the government. I'm still waiting for that check, by the way. You know what I mean? So that's why I say, you know what? Just come to Israel. And then they say, well, what about the West Bank? I've been all over the West Bank. I've been to many, many villages in the West Bank. No one's saying you don't need to go to the West Bank. Go to the West Bank. Come and see with your own eyes. So that's my call to action. Really come to Israel, come be on the ground, and really, really sit and think about, if this was your daughter, if this was your mother, if this was your sister, how would you want the world to respond?
Absolutely. Ashira Solomon, you are a ray of light. You give us hope. You are so strong as a young, beautiful woman standing for what you really believe in. And you're really inspiring all of us to do the same. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure.
Real pleasure to meet you. We are now automatically sisters. This is what happens when you find people with the same values. So you'll be seeing more of this on Moms Matter. Tune in next time.